They tried a ritual and the spirit answered. You cannot do something that you yourself have summoned. Joseph was sitting directly on the floor, his old laptop resting on his knees. Paul was slumped on the foam mattress while Ibrahim, leaning against the wall, stared silently at the screen. Joseph, arms crossed, eyes fixed on his screen, was showing something to his two friends. See this site? It's not nonsense. I talked to a guy on Telegram. He says if you're willing to sacrifice a bond of blood or flesh, the money comes within 7 days. A bond of blood or flesh? Repeated Paul, laughing nervously. Who are we talking about here? Some cousin we don't really like. No, Joseph replied. Not necessarily a human being. It could be a symbol, an object, a memory, something that ties you to your old life. Ibrahim, who had been silent until then, slowly placed a small, worn black book on the floor. It had neither title nor author, just a soft leather cover. I found something better. I bought it from a street vendor, he whispered. He was standing in front of the Grand Mosque last Friday. The other two exchanged a glance. And how much did you pay for this joke? Asked Paul. 1,000 francs. He told me this book was only for people who know what they want. Joseph grabbed it without hesitation, flipping through it carefully. Inside there was a trembling handwritten title in reddish-brown ink. The Midnight Exchange. Ritual forbidden to the uninitiated. He skimmed the first few pages and stopped on a line that was underlined. The spirit will give according to what it takes. He smiled, a dangerous, hungry smile. So, we'll give it something and see what it gives us in return. Joseph came from a modest family, a father who was absent, a mother who worked as a seamstress and lived in the village. In the neighborhood, people called him the kid who should have succeeded. He had passed his baccalaureate with honors, earned a degree in economics with distinction, and had all the cards in his hand. But 3 years after finishing university, he was selling phone cases and hacking mobile money accounts to survive. Frustration was eating him alive. Excellence didn't pay. The entrance exams were rigged. Internships didn't feed you. He was hungry. Hungry for money, hungry for recognition, hungry for a world that would finally stop telling him to keep fighting just a bit longer. He wanted to blow up one day, to become a millionaire so people would finally shut their mouths. Paul, whose father was a retired civil servant and whose mother sold beignets, had grown up in a strict family. He had always been the one who followed, not out of weakness but out of fear of being alone. Always there, always part of the group but never out front. He dreamed in silence. He never dared say what he truly wanted. Ibrahim, from a Muslim family, was reserved, mysterious, introverted, the shadow of the group. Orphaned of both parents, he lived with his older sister Samira in the family house. He spoke little and rarely laughed. The 3 young men arranged to meet in a week at 11 p.m. in the same room, Joseph's room, to perform the ritual. On the day itself, Paul and Ibrahim went over to Joseph's place. Every second counted. They had gathered the required items. 3 bowls filled with a blackish liquid. A mixture of lemon juice, crushed charcoal and pigeon blood. A coarse rope braided with 3 strands of human hair stolen from a hair salon. 3 personal offerings. Joseph had brought an old silver necklace that belonged to his mother. Paul brought a childhood photo with his little brother, who had passed away. Ibrahim brought a photo of his sister Samira. They arranged everything on the floor in a perfect triangle. Each bowl of black water sat in front of its owner, the rope in the center. We start exactly at midnight, reminded Ibrahim in a low voice. And we open our eyes together 10 minutes later, as the book says, added Joseph. Not before, insisted Paul. Definitely not before. An alarm in vibration mode was set on Joseph's phone. Each of them lit their white candle carefully. Joseph read the instructions in a low voice, written in red ink in the little black book. Place your hands on your knees, palms open. Keep your eyes closed. Do not speak, do not move, do not look. If a candle goes out or has moved, stop the ritual. If the bowl has been spilled, emptied, or displaced, stop the ritual. They closed their eyes. Their breathing grew slower, their bodies tense. The ritual had begun. Then slowly a light breeze passed through the room. Even though the windows were closed, the candles began to sputter. Joseph focused, eyes closed. Ibrahim remained perfectly still, his face seeming detached from time. but Paul was trembling. His heart was beating too fast. Even with his eyes tightly shut, he felt a presence. Not the wind, not the air, but something alive very close. It was breathing. It was watching him. He could have sworn a finger brushed his cheek. And then he heard it. A whisper right beside his ear, a muffled voice. "You called me? Here I am." He couldn't resist. He opened his eyes. Joseph's room was still there, yet everything seemed distorted. The walls had stretched outward, the ceiling had grown darker, and the bowl in front of him glowed as if it contained a liquid mirror. Paul leaned closer despite himself. In the reflection, a figure was staring back at him. It had no eyes, no nose, only a mouth. A wide mouth smiling. Paul pulled back, panicked, but he didn't scream. He shut his eyes tightly, trying to convince himself he'd seen nothing. At midnight exactly, Joseph's phone suddenly vibrated. It was the alarm. This time, the three young men opened their eyes together. The room was still there. Calm seemed to have returned, but the rope was now coiled in a spiral around the three bowls. The three candles, which had been spaced far apart, were now side by side. And in each bowl, the water was no longer black. It was a dark blood red. They stayed perfectly still, looking at one another without speaking. "What is this?" whispered Joseph. "I didn't open my eyes, I swear," Paul said. Ibrahim was the first to break the circle. He stood up slowly. He glanced at the book lying in a corner, then at his two friends. "Someone broke the triangle. Who moved the candles?" Ibrahim said. No one answered. Paul's hands were clammy. He didn't dare look at the others. His eyes kept drifting back to the bowl in front of him. He hadn't said anything. He hadn't shown anything. But he knew he had seen something. And that something had seen him. Joseph stood up too, his forehead beaded with sweat. "Well, that was weird. But we're alive. Let's sleep. We'll see tomorrow if money falls from the sky." He tried a smile. No one responded. Paul, trembling, kept staring at the bowl as though something might still emerge from it. "I'm going home," he murmured. "You want to walk alone at this hour?" Joseph shot back. "You want to end up in the crime pages?" "I don't want to stay here." He stood, grabbed his bag, and left without another word. He didn't even close the door behind him. Ibrahim, still standing, was staring at the spiral of rope now pushed into a corner of the room. "You okay?" Joseph asked. Ibrahim murmured. He crossed the circle. "Someone let him in." "What? What are you talking about?" But Ibrahim didn't reply. Joseph was about to tell him to get some sleep when the door slammed shut on its own. There was no breeze, just a sharp dry bang. A chill went through Joseph. "Ibrahim, stop messing around." But Ibrahim didn't answer. He had sat down and was holding the bowl in his hands, staring at it as if it were a treasure. The sun had risen. But for the three of them, the day no longer felt ordinary. Some said he was a bright boy, always discreet, respectful. He even graduated high school with honors. Ibrahim turned himself into the police a few days later. At the station, he didn't deny anything. He told them everything, the ritual, the money, then the darkness. He said he had no memory of the moment he stabbed his sister. "It's like someone else was walking in my skin. I'm not the one who killed Samira. It's what we woke up that night." He was sentenced to life in prison. Venturing into mysterious or occult practices carries grave risks. Just because it promises money doesn't mean it won't cost you your soul. When life seems unfair, don't choose darkness to get revenge. Because some shortcuts lead straight to ruin and you never come back whole. Thank you for following this story. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. See you next time for a new story.